it's going to be really, it's short, and it's basically just to provide an overview of planetary health framework, to talk about developing event that we're thinking about in this space, and just something to get people thinking around your discussions. So I think Amma covered this well, just the introduction to planetary health and what it is, and essentially, basically, it's health of human civilization, state of natural systems on which it depends. So it's just talking about, human systems, natural systems are interlinked, health of one depends on the other. It's an integrated systems approach, transdisciplinary, but the focus is solutions oriented. So working towards a better understanding of the intersection of all of these global environmental changes, including the political, economic, social systems. So there's an emphasis on policy and governance and actually creating solutions for action. And this schematic here just shows how planetary health sits in the context of all the other concepts, such as public health, which is more communities, and global health is the differences between populations. Then you've got One Health, where now you're linking human health, animal health, ecosystem health, and planetary health, which sort of covers everything in that space. And this is a recent framework coming out of the planetary health field, which it's in this book, which is it talks about protecting human health in a rapidly changing planet. But this is, I like this because it does underlie the different drivers that then, using the planetary health lens, that translate all the way into health effects. And we can see the biodiversity loss is here, one of the ecological drivers, but it's also intersecting with a few other drivers in this space. So understanding really what's happening here means understanding everything from your underlying drivers to your ecological, plus all the interactions in between them, your proximate causes, what's mediating that, and what eventually turns out into health impacts. So again, this goes back to why we're focusing on that, there's that complexity systems. And of course, given all of these interrelated factors, then you're looking at transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary approaches. Now, there's a lot conceptually about how this looks, but not enough about action, or how we can actually use this concept of planetary health to start looking for solutions. And solutions, around infectious disease risk, emerging infectious diseases. So personally, so that's where my personal interest lies, but also this fits in well into this workshop where we're trying to understand how different drivers of disease interconnect. We're looking at humans and the interaction with the environment, spatial, determinants of health and issues like that. So, so just to progress, I think I talked about all of that. We're connecting ecosystem health, human health, and policy and governance. So to progress this, there's an initiative that we are going to be running next year, which is partly sponsored by the Australian Academy of Science. And it is part of the Theo Murphy initiative. And it is titled Flourish, looking at interdisciplinary solutions for a thriving planet. But the idea is to look at those three broad thematic areas: ecosystem health, human health, policy, and governance. And to get a group of interdisciplinary researchers, including social science and policy and governance. One is to look at what are the key influences of disease in this space, what is driving action, but really the focus is on spanning boundaries. So methods or approaches or frameworks that we can use to actually link across boundaries and start to come up with actual frameworks for action. So again, the emphasis here is on policy and governance as well. So there's an element of how do we translate this action into practice, how do we translate the science into practice? Sorry, so looking at the interface of science into policy as well. And with one of the outputs being a framework or policy brief that can be used to drive planetary health action across Australia. So if you're interested in this, please do get in touch. The outputs of this workshop to some extent will feed into that. And the event, oh, I should have said more about the event. It's going to be a 2-day symposium, but there will be a series of workshops around that symposium as well.